Thank you for joining us today. My name is Corey Greenberg, and I'm the outreach manager here at Pack Prep. We are so excited to share what makes Pack Prep special with all of you. We work exclusively one-on-one. So that's one student to one teacher. And we do this online, which means tons of flexibility for families and also the opportunity for us to handpick the perfect teachers for each student, not just who happens to live nearby. We send learning materials directly to families. So after we learn about each student and curate their curriculum, those materials are delivered to their doorstep. Because it's one-on-one, learning happens more efficiently each day, and each child doesn't become lost in a sea of other students and other learning levels. The focus is really on them and their goals. We are so pleased to share why we truly believe this model is the most thoughtful, student-centered approach available. But before we dive in, a couple of notes. You'll receive a copy of this recording, so no need to take notes unless you want to. You should find a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen, and you're welcome to add your questions there, and we'll answer them at the end. We'll get to as many as we can, but if you have any follow-up questions, we'd love to hear from you directly. So I'm going to give you a quick preview of what we're going to talk about today. First, I'll introduce you to our amazing team and then dive into why our philosophy and teaching model really helps students reach their full potential. Then we'll tell you a little bit about the teachers at Pack Prep, and you'll get to hear directly from one of them and get a glimpse into a live lesson with a student. Next, we're going to hear from Erica about the thoughtful way she designs the curriculum for each individual student. Molly will give you all the details on the admissions process, tuition, and different course options. And next, we'll talk about how we address socialization within the one-to-one model. Lastly, we'll have time for the Q&A at the end. So here's your panel for today. Like I said, my name's Corey. I'm the outreach manager here. My job is really to connect with members of the community, to share a little bit about us, and to make some great connections with other professionals in the education field. So that way we can support our students in a truly holistic way and also have some great resources to refer them to.
Thank you so much, Corey. My name is Stacey Stutzman. I'm the operations director at Pacific Preparatory. I've been with the school for about 6 years now. I first started as a middle school English and social studies teacher with us before joining the leadership team. And now my role is just sort of to high-level oversight, make sure all of our processes and protocols and systems are working well together so that our teachers can focus on teaching and our students can just focus on their learning. Before I pass it off to Molly, I just want to take a quick second just to note that Jesse Roslin, our head of school and founder, was unable to join us today. So I just want to take a few moments to sort of give you a little bit of insight of his original vision for Pack Prep and how it's evolved over the last 20 years. So about 20 years ago, Jesse, a Stanford graduate and a TFA alum, started working with students in home one-on-one. And one of his first homeschool students, I believe, with a middle school boy, he was out of school for some health reasons, but even before he transitioned out of school, he was just like really uninspired by school, like was just really dragging his feet. It wasn't for him. And now he's pulled out of school and his peers aren't even there. So he just was not enjoying his academic experience. And so Jesse started working with him one-on-one and was able to really figure out the way that like one-on-one mentorship model could just really ignite that passion. It's like, okay, let's have you choose the book we're going to read. Let's like look at like the physics of skateboarding. Like, let's try to tap into the things you think are interesting to try to get you to love learning again. And it just like really did ignite this like passion in this child. And so I think that really helped inform Jesse's vision ongoing of what it would look like to bring that sort of one-on-one learning to as many students as possible. So while it was originally envisioned and for the first like 15 years or so as in-home one-on-one private school, first in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then later in Los Angeles, over the last 5 years or so, it's really grown to be more virtual. So we can serve a wider network of students, yes, in California and on the West Coast, but across the United States. And we even have a few students who are living abroad right now. So that's just a little bit in terms of how it's grown in the last 20 years. And I'm just so glad to be a part of this evolving mission.
Great, thank you, Stacey. I am Molly Tweeten, and I'm the admissions manager for Pacific Preparatory. I'm generally going to be the first point of contact for many of our families. I work with you throughout your time when you're just considering us as an option. And then also once you're enrolled with us, I'm also there as a point of contact to provide support throughout your whole time. My background is in social work, so I love talking with families and helping them figure out and create their ideal educational program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erica Steve. I'm the curriculum specialist here at Pack Prep. I work with students and their families and teachers to make the one-on-one virtual wild experience come to life.
Beth, you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, sorry. And my name is Beth. I'm a teacher with Pack Prep. I teach elementary through high school and a variety of different subjects. And I'll look forward to telling you more about some of my specific projects with students.
Great. Okay, so let's dive in. Why Pack Prep? We are an accredited one-on-one online private school. And what makes us really unique is that one-to-one teaching model. That means that each student meets live virtually with their teachers every day. There's no group classes and there's no brick and mortar locations. So our curriculum is really carefully tailored to each student and designed to engage their unique interests and learning style. Because the teachers are actively engaging with their students every day, they develop truly meaningful relationships and become mentors to them, really getting to know them not only as students, but as whole individuals. Because of our customized model, Pack Prep is equipped to work with every kind of student. We have students with diagnosed learning differences, as well as twice exceptional and gifted students, some of whom have mental health challenges or just other reasons a traditional school setup isn't ideal for them. Any gaps in learning can be quickly identified and closed. So a transition back to a more traditional school environment is easier, or families may choose to stay with us through their senior year. We actually have a couple graduating with us this spring. Our leadership team, teachers, and community partners really support your student through every step of the process. Because of our model, it's common for students to exceed grade level expectations, and we see students develop a real love of learning, a really, increased sense of confidence and that self-advocacy. So now I'm going to turn it over to Molly to go over the different options that we offer to families.
Great. So we do offer a wide range of options for our families. We really want to make sure what we are creating for your student is what they need. So we have a couple different course load options. We have students who work with us and take 1 to 2 courses to supplement work that they're doing at another school or if they're homeschooling. And then those courses are about 2 hours per week of instruction per subject. For a full-time student, that is going to look like roughly 8 to 10 hours per week. And we have many students who wear their school of record and they ultimately choose to graduate with us. That 8 to 10 hours per week are for those core courses, so math, English, science, and social studies, but we're also happy to mimic a more traditional schedule if that's what you are looking for. So in addition to those core subjects that I just listed, we are also proud to offer electives. So some electives that we have done in the past is graphic design, art, languages, coding. We are happy to create a custom course for your child based on their interests. We also do offer AP and honors courses. So with those, we just want to make sure that they're getting that information in a timely manner in relation to whatever AP exam that they have set up for. And then last but not least, we do have an academic calendar that we follow. So that's really important for our students who are enrolled with us full time. But we have rolling admissions and we do flexible scheduling. So we are able to work with your family at any point in the year.
Okay, I've got a quick video I'd like to share with you from one of our parents who had a 9th grader with us.
My name is Mariam, and our son Ari was a Pacific Preparatory student as we bridged from his previous school environment to his next school environment over the course of a little less than a year. One of the impacts that we saw over the course of his time with Pacific Prep was a greater sense of agency in his learning. So as an example, his humanities teacher was working with him on writing about music, because our son really likes music and he likes playing music and making music. He asked our son to write a review of a song. And then that went well, and so then he asked him to write a review of an album. And so in the process of doing that, they decided, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do a blog? And so he helped our son set up a blog. And now our son, even once that course is over, he's still doing the blog. And so he really feels ownership of that and agency over it, and that he's like, his education isn't something that is happening to him. It's something that he is part of creating.
I love what Miriam said about how Ari's experience with Pack Prep was so rich because it didn't feel like the teaching was done to him. He really was a part of the process. The way this works so well is because of our amazing teachers. They are graduates of some of the most prestigious universities, and many hold teaching credentials, special education credentials, and advanced degrees. Our vetting process is quite rigorous, and we provide lots of ongoing support, as well as the freedom to be creative and thoughtful about their students' learning needs. As I mentioned earlier, we have one of those amazing people here today, Beth Ryan. Before I turn it over to Beth, though, we're going to show you a clip of a live lesson with a student so you can really see our teachers in action. This is a sixth grade student who's working on a tricky Latin translation with one of our other wonderful teachers. We're going to go ahead and watch the clip, and I'll highlight a couple things, and then Beth can tell you a little bit more about herself and her experience working with Pack Prep students.
Mihi,
And that's
tell-
the native of.
tell me,
Yep.
the about Britain.
Good.
Okay, is Britain's land cold? Or-
You made Britain. Listen to what you did to Britain.
I made it like genitive.
You did make it genitive. Dash, I'm so proud of you. Listen to how you just noticed that. You made it. You not only just told me what you did, which is you added an apostrophe. That was multiple conclusions that you just drew right there. You noticed that you added the possessive, and then you understood that the possessive case in Latin is genitive, and then you explained that and articulated it to me. So, but you don't want to do that here, because what does it have a genitive ending on it right now?
No, it's a
No,
nominative.
it's nominative. So you need to make it the subject. Is Britain, and then terra frigida is the predicate nominative. Is Britain a
Cold place or well,
cold
land?
Yep. Is Britain a cold land? So just be very cautious that you don't turn things into things that they're not. And I'm very proud of you for that was impressive how you just untangled that what just happened there. Awesome job.
Thanks. Okay.
So when Dash makes an incorrect translation, the teacher gently prompts him to reflect on his work. The one-to-one model really allows the teacher to pause instruction and allow the student to guide their own learning. Our teachers are truly experts in their content area, but they also serve primarily as facilitators who provide the space for students to access the learning target in a pace and format that's most authentic to them. So that brings us to Beth, who has been a teacher for 20 years, and she began teaching with Pack Prep in 2019. I think what sets Beth apart is how she crafts each lesson to the students' exact learning needs. Beth listens deeply to students, and she's always attuned to what they need in that moment. Sometimes that means slowing down the pace and integrating social emotional learning activities. Sometimes that means raising the bar, building in a sense of added challenge and enrichment. No matter the age or subject area, Beth thoughtfully integrates a student-first approach to her lessons. Okay, I'm turning it over to you now, Beth.
Well, thank you. That was a really kind introduction. So as we've heard from the parent and then that small sample lesson, I think everyone's getting a picture of how there's a really great combination at Pack Prep between academic rigor and also allowing the student to follow their genuine curiosity and follow the organic interest to really rigorous research and exciting projects. And I think that's what I love so much about working at Pack Prep. I have been a classroom teacher for many years, but I have also been involved in academia and my own research. And so I love getting alongside with the students doing like real original research using academic skills that I don't know if I developed until later college years. And here I'm working with a fifth grader who's able to come up with their own research model. It's really exciting. So here's just a sampling of some projects I've done in my classes along that model. you'll see a little DNA double helix. The bases are color coded if you know anything about DNAs, and that was part of the project. This is a 5th grade science project. It's another example of, I'll often send materials to the house of the student that I'm working online with. I will always do the project alongside the student to offer modeling and sort of mentor text or a mentor project. The Candy DNA is a little bit simpler than some of our other projects. And then we have a science magic kit in the other corner. I've often done chemistry magic shows where the student has to perform and develop their own magic tricks using this particular kit, but then also developing their own. There's a little image from an ancestry.com find that for another student in social studies, a high school student, before we did World War II. We both gave each other the assignment of finding some relatives around the time of World War II and what they were up to as an introduction before we got into the content. I did the project right alongside my student, and it ended up in a great discussion because I found this great uncle I didn't know existed, and he had sauntered off to Brazil during World War II, and we talked about why he might have done that and sort of the hidden history in my family, what was going on in Brazil during World War II and why he might have gone there. And then finally, there's a little picture of a sand dollar, another 5th grade science student who I was working with. We were doing a lesson on biology and the breadth of different life forms. We were looking at the animal kingdom and doing a dichotomous key where the student had to, again, very rigorous, had to classify different pictures of animals within their class and phyla. And then, which is really a 9th grade skill that the 5th grader was just nailing. And then it turned out that this student was really interested in sand dollars and asked, where does a sand dollar fit into this system? And so we ended up spending the rest of the lesson on sand dollars. We drew them together, noticed features on the sand dollar, then researched what those features were, wrote down a list of questions. Again, they were organically derived, like the student was just thinking of them as we were drawing the sand dollar, as we were talking about it. We pulled academic literature from scientific journals that I was able to sort of translate for the student, that they then included in their eventual research paper that came out of this, 40 minutes towards the end of class after we had already done this other part of the lesson. And it became this incredible research project that the student put together based on just a couple of questions. Having the student follow their interest and their questions was so much more meaningful in internalizing the lesson and applying the lesson. I learned more about sand dollars than I have ever learned before, and I will remember it till the end of my days. They're really so much cooler than I realized. The student was tickled that I thought that it was so cool because we were doing it together. And it was real just genuine curiosity that propelled the lesson, which I found to be so meaningful for the student. And for me, it's fun for us because all of us teachers love our subjects and love learning more about it, which we do with the students. And I also have the pleasure of working with a lot of students that have learning differences or mental health challenges, and the one-on-one model and this following your own interest within the subject is so helpful for them because they gain confidence in their own skills and their own curiosity, and they start to love school again, which some of them have lost that when I first start seeing them. So yeah, I could go on forever, but I won't. And it's just a pleasure working with so many students through PAC Prep.
Great.
Beth is totally humbly sharing a little of this and a little of this. I can say I tap Beth for tons of ideas, and like she's saying oh yeah, I did this light research, and she's making learning come to life with all of her students. And even though that is extraordinary, it's not out of the question. All of our teachers are passionate about what they do, and they bring that within their lesson planning. So our curriculum really starts with goals, and that is specific to every student. Sometimes that looks like, Erica, my child hates learning. I'm here because I want them to come to class and just get the credit. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, got it. And we're going to make them love learning along the way. It also looks like goals that both support their interests and highlight strengths while also really targeting their areas for growth. So a student that Beth was teaching was a fourth grader, and he was enrolled in math with Beth, but really needed to work on showing his steps for problem solving and writing. And Beth was like, no problem. I see you. I know you have an ELA teacher that's working with you on writing, but I also want to encourage you to write. So she actually mailed the student envelopes that were pre-addressed to her with stamps so that he could take his work that was written down and then fold it up, put it in the envelope, that additional accountability and almost like a little pen pal system, even though it's math, making that come to life while also targeting that area for growth. And then like we kind of mentioned, hand match teachers that are customizing their lesson plans. So we look at personalities, we look at needs, we look at expertise, and we make the perfect pairing for the lessons. And then we also provide strong support and accountability, because I often say it's one-on-one and it's virtual. What? Like I'm from the classroom. I was classically trained. And so this is sort of a new model for a lot of families. And I like to sort of say, great, no problem. We're going to work with you and make that happen. But then we also want to provide these opportunities. So like, okay, that sounds lovely and shiny, but like, how are you going to make sure my child is prepared? We'll give you course syllabi. We'll show you their diagnostic assessments in ELA as well as math. So you can kind of see where they're at and where instruction is headed. And then I'll also give you a few examples in addition to what Beth shared about how we make learning come to life and really incorporating those hands-on pieces. So you can see from left to right, there's Sudoku puzzles working with not just the worksheet and not just the problem, but making sure that it is a little bit more of a higher level thinking. And then right next to that is historic letters that are mailed to both the teacher and the student, and they can analyze those and look at different sources. And the middle picture where you see that blue folder, that's a little kit that we mailed for a student within an executive functioning course. So giving them both like color coordinated folders and pens that would match their Google Drive folder and match, and like helping them with timers and accountability, and like using index cards that were set color coordination to the protocol so that they're really getting a feel for how to track their assignments and their schedule. And then right next to that, we have an example of how to make chemistry shine. And this is where I say, like, I love our teachers as experts, because you do not want me to be your chemistry teacher. I will not help you as much as somebody else, but that's why we tap different teachers for their areas of expertise. And then the last one on the right is our favorite example of hands-on. We had one student that loved animals and was very nervous about an animal dissection. And we said, absolutely, we want to give you the tools to be successful and to get those pieces, but like, let's find a way for you to crochet this frog. And you can see the different like body parts trying to make that come to life without having to do an actual animal dissection.
Great. So now we're going to hear from Molly again about the admissions process, cost, and learning options.
So at this point, you may be wondering, how will this work for my family? Because we are so customized, this answer can vary. We are not a one-size-fits-all model. So I work with you to figure out what's going to be best based on your child's needs and your family's goals. We create custom schedules that are set at the beginning of the semester. This allows us to provide that beneficial consistency and routine that many of our students need in order to thrive, while also honoring other student and family commitments. So if you have a student that's enrolled with us and then a student enrolled in another brick and mortar school, we're able to adjust breaks and accommodate other activities so that they can still take advantage of all the other interests that they have while still honoring the academic piece. With that, we look at a single course is around $5,000 per course per semester. So tuition for a full-time student for those core courses is around $20,000 per semester. Again, as we're looking at high school, then we add in languages, health credits, all those other things that students need to graduate. And then also, as noted before, we do offer the additional other fun electives that are outside those expectations for graduation. So we can mimic a more traditional school day if you're wanting more than that 8 to 10 hours per week of instruction. So I'd be happy to send a specific proposal so that you know that cost upfront and you can make that decision and there's no surprises after you enroll with us. Then when we're looking at pricing, we are very comparable to that of other one-on-one online educational formats, but I really like to highlight that we pay our teachers for their prep time. We really prioritize supporting our teachers so that they can show up as their best selves for their students each day and feel supported, and have Erica and then our faculty manager and other teachers to pull on when maybe they're hitting a roadblock and not quite sure what to do with a specific student. Additionally, we also focus heavily on customization and then flexibility with curriculum to meet student needs. That can look like adjusting when something isn't quite working, increasing the pace for students that are moving beyond concepts really quickly, or also incorporating family locations into travel lessons that week, because we really want to make sure that we're taking full advantage of your family's travel if that's what you're choosing to do. So families love that they can work with us as an accredited school that meets them where they're at, but then also can go with them wherever they choose to be.
Great. So I want to, of course, address the elephant in the room, which is what about their peers? At Pack Prep, we've chosen to focus on just the academic piece of your child's day, and to do that extremely well. Because students are making really efficient progress through their curriculum, there's no hiding in the back of the class with their hat over their eyes, there's free time for them to connect with their peers through their real interests. We know it's an approach that feels outside the box from our traditional view of education, but it works extremely well for kids who struggle with the intersection of the social and academic demands, or just families wanting the flexibility of that increased free time. That said, we do have a few community events like school-wide assemblies. So last month we had, for World Read Aloud Day, Erica brought in an author to talk to the whole student body, K through 12, and it was fantastic. We also have a book club that's broken down by age bands that's open to the wider community, totally free, so our students can meet new friends. The spring session is actually starting next week, and it's including a signed copy of each book selection and an exclusive visit from the author. Very cool. We also work really closely with families who are new to the one-on-one model and would appreciate some curated resources within their local communities. We maintain a really robust list of trusted providers, and we can help with making those connections so that your kids can truly have a well-rounded experience every day. So, okay, that brings us to a couple of questions. We have a few minutes to answer. One question I think that's really important to answer, maybe Erica, you can take this one. What about kids who are resistant to Zoom?
Okay, bear with me because I think I geek out with this question. I love that, and I would say we celebrate that. So I actually just chatted with a high schooler who said quite candidly in a curriculum meeting with his parents there, like, I don't like learning. And my response was, great, thanks for sharing. Okay, so, and he was like, is that okay? Like, I just said I don't like learning. And I was like, yeah, here's why. I said, like, we're not in the business of sales. We are in the business of, like, here's your course, here's your credit, here's what we're going to get you to. And along the way, I'm chatting with the teachers about, like, how are we going to make this come to life? Because I want him to feel like he can come as he is, know that learning is tough, know that he doesn't really like it. And yet I'm like, wait, but you have a few more years of learning in high school, and I want you to get something out of it. And his mom was like, yes. But she was like, don't tell him that I said that. So, and I'll say too, and I always tear up when I say this, so hopefully I don't hear, we had an 11th grader last school year come to us and say, we just want to graduate. We need to get 11th grade credits done and 12th grade credits done. And I have the pleasure of hosting our personalized graduation ceremony. So the student invited all of her friends, all of her family. It was a lovely chaotic Zoom meeting with like 30 different people, and graciously I had to mute different grandmas that were learning about Zoom. But in this like lovely grad ceremony, she said, and again, I'll try not to tear up, but she said, I didn't think I could enjoy learning again, and I didn't think that I could do it, and now I'm off to college knowing I can do it. So back to you in the studio. I'm like, okay, that I'll get off my pedestal. But essentially, if you don't like learning, that's okay. If school's hard for you, that's okay. We'll work with you. Come as you are. Tell your teachers that, and we will see what we can do to make that happen.
Thank you. And actually, on that note, Molly, would you touch specifically on families that are hesitant about the Zoom component, about online learning, just kind of based on their pandemic experience?
Yes, I was hoping that you would ask that, Corey. So that is something that's common, that families come to us either noting that their child thrived with Zoom and online, or they hated that and they are very hesitant with it. So our top priority is get the student buy-in. Make sure that they're a part of the process, that we get to know them, they get to ask their questions, and then also incorporating their interests, as Erica and Beth have so expertly talked about, making sure that we're seeing who they are, and then also getting that right teacher in there so that the personality and energy match up for that child, and it's a teacher who can help build rapport. Lastly, we do have a 2-week trial period that allows families to get their money back if that is not the right fit for them. So that is a comfort that, they don't have to make this huge leap and commit to a full semester if it is just not working. We want to make sure that we are honoring that student and what is best for them.
Great. Well, and actually that touches on the next question. Stacy, maybe you can take this one. How do we find our teachers and then select the right teachers for each student?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking me this one. Sorry. In particular, as I said, that I first joined our team as a teacher, but then my first couple of years here, I was in charge of hiring and then staffing teachers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually think I might have hired Beth back in 2019. It's been a while, so I can't remember if I held your first interview, but I think I did. So I really just love getting to know our teachers and just sort of figuring out, like, personality wise, who's going to be the best fit with the best sort of expertise for each of our students. And I think another thing that's really cool, like, Beth has been with us since 2019. So for like 3 or 4 years now, we have tons of teachers that are like that have been with us for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And it's really great because, like, some students get to have like a teacher see them through all of middle school or through a lot of high school. And it's really great that they get to have that consistent mentor. So yeah, I think right now, especially coming into this year, which is like a year that a lot of teachers are leaving the classroom, I think Pac Prep saw like 96 or 97% teacher retention. So like having this robust group of teachers that we've been with for several years and who we're having routine like virtual coffee check-ins with, and just really getting to know, it allows us to make really smart choices. So as Beth was giving her examples with all of her projects, like Beth clearly brings to her teaching a very like rigorous academic strategy that like she really can get in, like geek out with students. And that's like the right fit for a lot of students. But another student might be like, oh, I need the sing-song teacher. I need the there's like just totally, like we could have like an elementary school student or a middle school student who like maybe is like way more into like drama and acting and flourishes and they're like research project. No, so knowing who our teachers are, it allows us to make really smart choices about like, oh, you know what? I actually know that Beth or Tess or Allie or whoever, like they just did this XYZ project. And I think they're going to be such a good fit for the student that we just brought in, because by the time we get to selecting the teacher, Molly's spoken with families extensively. Erica's had these curriculum meetings to really dive into learning goals. So we have so much data around who the student is. And then we already hold all this like several year-long data around who all of our teachers are. So we're able to make really good matches in terms of what's going to really best support the student learning.
Great. So one question, maybe Beth, you can take this one. What about homework and tests? Is it like a traditional school, or how do you manage that?
It's kind of a mix. It depends on the student for sure. I think there's some situations where it's really important for the student to be able to do a more traditional test, especially if they have the expectation of maybe going into more traditional classrooms in the future. I always do, I actually grabbed it out for an example and I didn't have time for it. So it's very funny. I often do like escape rooms when I have to do a more traditional test, or like they have to figure out a code. I have these little, I'm going to show this Amazon decoder, which are shockingly inexpensive. And so for online students, sometimes I'll like send it pre-set, and then the answers to the tests have to correspond with the letters. And then unlock the thing, just little things to make it a little bit more fun, but they're still having to do the more like rigorous test type assessment so that they, keep their skills or build those skills for themselves if they want to go back into a more traditional classroom.
That's
Great.
so cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Molly, how long does it take to get started, and just what are the first steps to getting started with Pack Prep?
Great question. So the first step is submitting your information. So you can submit a request form or you can contact any of us. Our website has information. And so I'd love to have a phone call or a Zoom meeting with your family to talk about what your goals are, what it is you're looking for, what you've experienced so far, and help figure out if we are the right fit, and then help create that customized proposal for you so you know what the cost will be and what that program will look like. We can start in as little as 2 to 3 weeks, but I like to say the more time the better, because that allows us as much time as possible to get your ideal scheduling nailed down, get to know your student, and then also find that right teacher match or teacher matches if you're a full-time student with us, to make sure that we're really getting that right program for your student. But again, we're always flexible throughout the year too. So happy to come up with the program and then be flexible if needed to make adjustments throughout the semester.
Great. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today for this open house. We hope that you have a sense of why Pack Prep is such a great option for families who want that flexibility and the highly personalized educational experience. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any follow-up questions. My email is listed here. You'll also be receiving a link to this recording via email, and you're welcome to respond to me that way also. We hope to welcome you to the Pack Prep family and just have a wonderful rest of your day.